Hello. This is a message for Gemini. I'm using the traditional Rider-Waite deck for the tarot portion of this reading, but I'm also incorporating a hexagram that I have cast with the coin toss method, an I Ching hexagram. We've got that right over here. You can probably see it. It's hexagram number 61, and it's composed of the two trigrams, wind and lake, wind over lake. We'll shuffle that a little bit more before we get into things. But so we have this bottom trigram right here is the lake. This is the Chinese element of metal. And above that we have wind, which is the Chinese element of wood. And I'm going to read from the Oracle, from Benabel Wen's I Ching, the Oracle book. I'm not going to go through line by line, but I do invite you to go ahead and do your own research on that front and do some reading on the different interpretations of the line, because it might offer you some better insight. But I do want to get to the tarot portion of this before too long. So, hexagram number 61, faith within. So the Oracle says, do not rush to judge others. Gain a deeper understanding of why they act the way they do. The answer to a difficult question is arrived at only when you are receptive to the truth. On the brink of an awakening, the time for harvest is coming. You will soon manifest your full potential. There is a certain affinity between the Oracle and you. A wind blows across the lake. Gentle thoughts nourish and bring joy. The image of faith is a mother bird's foot placed protectively over her fledgling. The sage deliberates on the transgressions of humankind, but delays executions. Do not rush to punish others. Respond, but do not react. Be responsive, not reactionary. To unravel the truth, first you must gain a deep understanding of why the transgressor acted. Open the heart to truth. To be superior in strength is to show mildness in punishment. Let your sense of justice be guided by that principle. Mercy, essentially. The answer to a difficult question is arrived at only when you are receptive to truth. Persuading a piglet and fish, good fortune and prosperity arrive for you, favors granted. The greatest challenge to the sage is not in the persuasion of the highest members in society to be open to the truth. The greatest challenge is the persuasion of the most inferior members to accept moral obligation. The greatest work of the sage is not in supporting the eminent ones and embracing truth. The greatest work is supporting the adversary in embracing truth. Fellowship is not in itself noble. The unprincipled have fellowship, but such bonds can be broken without principles. Peace and unity come not from fellowship, but from faith. The truest bonds, ones that cannot be broken, are forged when all hearts are open to truth. When all hearts are open to truth, they are united by it. Fellowship alone is not enough. There must be faith within. The sage must persuade the adversarial ones to open their hearts to truth, then unite them with the eminent ones. Auspicious to cross the great stream. Hexagram 61 expresses the forces that move people to tell the truth. A secondary implication of the revelation, persuading a piglet and fish, good fortune and prosperity, is as support for biological diversity. Hexagram 61 is the image of wind dispersing the seeds of life across the lake, the figure of the fertile womb. And I want to take a moment, since it's talking about essentially bridging gaps, being receptive to the other person's perspective and not being too quick to impart harsh judgment upon them. You see these two trigrams are linked by these receptive lines right here. It's like being open and receptive to each other and the differences they present. That's the path to reconciliation and the path to being informed of the truth, essentially. I want to see how we can relate this to the tarot spread today. Let's see what comes through. I actually attempted to do your reading already, and one of the images that I was getting in mind when I was shuffling your cards for that particular reading was the image of a frog croaking, partially submerged in water. And specifically what was being emphasized with this image was the ripples in the water that were emanating from the frog as the frog was croaking. And it was like this externalization of energy that was otherwise contained. A sort of catharsis or release of something. I'm not sure how that's going to be relevant to the reading, but we'll see. Maybe there's some crossover there. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's relevant and maybe it isn't. You never know. But I felt compelled to talk about it. Alright, I'm going to shuffle a little bit more for you, Gemini. Get these cards warmed up for you. Maybe we can see if something else, some other imagery wants to come through. Okay, a ladder. Are you climbing up or down the ladder? And what does that mean? Specifically getting like a Jack and the Beanstalk reference. Climbing up to the giants. Maybe approaching authority figures with something. They're done shuffling. I'm going to try this one more time because I feel like it wants to be. Does not. Alright. So our first card for you, Gemini, is the Ace of Pentacles. I'm going to get them all laid out and then we'll go through it. We have the Six of Pentacles. Then we have the Knight of Cups. The World. The Eight of Coins. The Page of Swords. I felt like a vibration when I did that. That's why I looked at my phone. I was like, did I get a message? What's going on? 20 Judgment. I almost said the 20 20 of Wings. Got distracted there. Judgment. And we have the Lovers. The Sun. A lot of major energy here for you. Maybe that'll focus. Okay. And then we have the Queen of Wands. Awesome. So let's get into this. See what we've got, Gemini. So, Ace of Pentacles at the heart of the reading. That's that cardinal point of Capricorn, the winter solstice point. This is the foundation of a material endeavor, of a fiscal endeavor. Something to do with livelihood, something to do with place, environment. It's the beginning, it's the initiation of something on that front. Potentially even being presented with an opportunity to initiate on that level. And it's being challenged by the Six of Pentacles right here. Which to me always calls into question this idea of injustice in the workplace. In this case, in the sense of being properly compensated for the work being done. And whether that's fiscal, like actual money, or it's being allocated appropriate resources to undertake an endeavor or a project. Could even be like portioning out pleasure, portioning out enjoyment. For whatever reason, the image of a bartender is also coming to mind, like somebody who is making sure that they're keeping a mental stock of the drinks that they're serving, portioning things out correctly for each patron, and not allowing them to extend beyond their their means or their faculties. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe you're acting in the place of a provider in some way, making sure that you are being relatively impartial in how you're providing or dividing up these specific resources. Maybe we'll come back to that because I'm not entirely clear on what this is meaning. The past, we have the Knight of Cups, which is being presented with an emotional reality, an emotional depth. Somebody having some sort of proposition maybe, or providing you with a little bit of emotional, faith-based confirmation, providing purpose behind the why behind what you're doing. Could be that somebody has not only propositioned you romantically, but is the person kind of coming in offering you this new opportunity, this new job maybe, or this new project, maybe even providing you money or offering to buy you a drink at the bar, like this kind of energy. And I'm being compelled to think back on that hexagram. It's like, don't be so quick to judge someone based on actions that they've done or words that they've chosen. Like, there's a little bit more depth being alluded to here, and I feel like if you're not open or receptive to it, it's not going to come through, it's not going to break through. So it's like being open to exploring or considering the idea, the proposition even, if that's what it is. Could also represent you potentially propositioning an idea to somebody else, you having found your purpose, you having found a sense of purpose rather, some motivating force that's compelling you to start something new, to take on a new project, to maybe pursue self-employment, or pursue a new leadership position or a new position altogether. Like it does very much seem to be focused on career, also because we have this Eight of Pentacles at the base of the reading, kind of providing the foundation that everything else is working from. And this is the energy of like working, of putting in effort and attention into crafting something, into creating something that provides for other people on a practical level. Provides for yourself on a practical level. So usually, obviously kind of career centric with these pentacle cards here. And at the crown of the reading, we have the Page of Swords. And I'm hearing your thoughts running away with you. This is kind of representing the position, the pole star position of the reading. It's kind of what everything else is hinging upon. And this Page of Swords is like really excitable, chatterboxy energy, like having a breakthrough idea about something and wanting to very quickly share it with everyone else. Like very, like you just found out some gossip or some information or some news that you want to immediately run and tell somebody about it. And it's like exciting and kind of frantic and quick moving. And I feel like the fact that it's acting as the hinge point and everything else is very much more like slow and methodical. It's like you need to slow that approach down a little bit, but allow that energy to motivate your actions in a way, allowing your it's so interesting. I'm seeing like a race course, but specifically like a race course designed for like dogs. You know how they have their obstacle course and they have to jump over like poles and jump between poles and whatnot. This Page of Swords to me is like representing this clock that's on the wall, and like you're watching the time kind of slip away while you're the one jumping over these poles and going through this obstacle course, and it's like that frantic sense of time passing is what's motivating you to get these obstacles surmounted. And it's like these obstacles are not, I don't want to necessarily say they're obstacles, but they're like very physical, they're very corporeal, they're like steps that need to be taken along the way in order to make sure that the message comes across appropriately. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe it's like research that you need to do or experience that you need to gain in order to be able to clearly articulate the message in a way that is received appropriately. You know, there's a certain rhetoric that you need to develop, a certain vernacular that you need to use, a certain tonality that you need to practice, or just maybe more information, more data. I'm hearing like more money, more resources backing the idea or backing this information before it can be shared. But don't lose sight of this Page of Swords energy. Like, allow it to be what's pulling and compelling you forward. In your near future, you have the World card, which represents a sort of culmination, a completion, a rounding of the edges, a completion of a cycle. Like if you're gathering data or gathering more information so that you can more appropriately share the information that this Page of Swords is representing, it's like maybe you're going back to school, or you're taking a course, a training course, and coming out the other side with the certificate, the diploma, and the knowledge acquired, and a new vocabulary with which to impart the knowledge to other people. You know, it's you with perspective gained through your own efforts, and maybe this perspective that you're gaining is what is kind of being alluded to by this hexagram of like needing to be open to the other's approach, their own motivating factors behind what and how they're doing things or what they're saying, not being so quick to judge them, and instead taking the time to understand where they're coming from, and maybe coming by being receptive to what they have to say or their approach to things. It kind of broadens your perspective in a way that is fundamentally nourishing, fundamentally empowering, and provides more context to things. But definitely, like, there's this energy of interaction, of interplay between more than one person, between you and another person potentially. And I'm seeing there's kind of an interesting dynamic here with this Knight of Cups and this Page of Swords that I keep looking back at them, just like the Page of Swords is kind of looking back in the Knight of Cups direction. It's like the Page of Swords wants to share all this information, wants to say something, wants to make a judgment about something, but he's looking back at the Knight of Cups and being aware that this Knight of Cups has a very sensitive, compassionate approach to things. Doesn't want to, step on any eggshells, and would rather be very sensitive about how they approach a situation or impart certain information. And so this Page of Swords is like trying to remain balanced by this perspective here, to remain sensitive and not be so, not necessarily careless, maybe more reckless, quick and impulsive, kind of like word vomit. Gemini, I feel like you have a tendency to want to maybe overshare information, over communicate. I mean, you are Mercury's air sign, so there's a lot of communication and talking involved. And so maybe this is more of like a think before you speak sort of energy. Think and try to understand the situation. Think and try to understand the person before you make a decision or before you impart a judgment upon it. And just keep re-emphasizing that same point over and over again. You have judgment in your surrounding environment, which I think is interesting with all the don't be so quick to judge talk that we've been doing. With the World card, though, this is very much like a a final evaluation. Like if this is something to do with work, this is like presenting the final manifestation of a project that you've been working on, and this is like the last chance to get things right. This is like the big presentation, so to speak. So you want to make sure that you've done the research necessary. You've acquired the data. You've got all the numbers lined up. You've got the different perspectives. You've taken into consideration maybe the work and the research that other people have done, and allowing that to enrich your presentation, so to speak, so that it's received. I'm hearing received in fair judgment, like with receptive eyes, I guess, going back to the receptive theme. And I'm sorry if you guys are going to end up hearing like the lawnmowers and leaf blowers in the background. I'm going to hopefully try to get this reading done before that gets really going. For the people around you, you have the Lovers. So this is, again, very much like this energy of being receptive to one another, this energy of interaction between one or more parties, two or more parties, individuals or corporate bodies, teams, and this is a need to merge, to come together, to come to an understanding of one another. This is your own card, Gemini. The Lovers is you, Gemini. It's that dual nature kind of merging together while remaining distinct from one another. Bringing your particular unique approaches together in a unified approach with a method that complements both, or all of the involved. With the Sun card right above it, I'm hearing that this merging, or this being receptive, this being open to each other, is going to open up into attainment of sorts, like completion, abundance, a really good positive energy, success, for lack of a better way to put it. And maybe providing an outlet. Like I'm thinking back about that frog and the radiating ripples as he's croaking. It's like this externalization of the energy. Maybe up until this point, the energy has been on a more internal, kind of unspoken basis. It's like it's being cultivated. It's being hashed out and clearly defined and determined and crafted into something that's usable and provides a service in a way, and then through this partnership, through this mutual understanding, through this I'm hearing commerce, interesting, through this mercantile exchange, even the Sun kind of opens up and you're in a state of visibility, and your work is speaking for itself. And I feel like, this is in your hopes and fears position. So it's like, obviously there's some fear tied up with that. This is what you want to happen, maybe. But, the fear is like the antithesis of that. Is like your work that you've put all this time and effort into crafting, that you've put, all this work into developing relationships and partnerships in order to make this a success, and then it not turning out as a success. And that being part of the fear that's braided into that. From what I'm seeing with the spread, it doesn't seem like you need to worry so much. Like there's a lot of momentum behind this, a lot of like power, even a lot of beauty, a lot of appreciation. Like it's something that people have wanted, or something that you have wanted to provide in a way, and it's being received positively. But it's like by being open to the market research, oddly enough, being open to what the people have to say, the other person outside of you has to say, is what's helping to craft this into something that's perfect, something that successful and opens things up for you. And you have the Queen of Wands in the final outcome position. And this is you really embodying the energy of drive, passion, success, entrepreneurial mindset, like really forging forward with your ideas and your projects and making things happen, making motions happen, and being the face of a company, even allowing you not necessarily defending because of opposition, but providing a point of reference for people to interact with or engage with the work that you've been doing. I hope that makes sense. I like this progression from Judgment up to the Sun to the Queen of Wands, through the Lovers. It feels like, hey, I'm seeing things clearly. Here's how I'm seeing things, and kind of dialoguing with another person and making sure that you understand how they're seeing things, take their approach into consideration, and allow that to merge together and create something that's radiant and inclusive, I'm hearing, that provides sustenance and nourishment on a spiritual, emotional, physical level, however it's manifesting for the world at large, because I feel like what you've been working towards is for providing something on a larger scale. I don't feel like it's necessarily individualized or localized. It could be that through partnership you're able to recognize, you come to like a self-understanding or a self-realization in a way, an understanding of your own innate powers, your own innate capabilities, and finally understanding how to utilize them and harness them appropriately to create something that you've been wanting to create. But it's like been through this kind of mundane process that I was kind of describing with these pentacles here, moving into a more fundamental and more spiritual or intellectual, more objective, larger picture type stuff is what I'm getting at, rather than the little mundane details that maybe were the focus prior to this. But it's like this, everything was part of the process. Everything has gone to lead you to where you are so that this Judgment can come in, this Lovers event, the Sun, and this eventual Queen of Wands. Like everything is carrying you through this. Everything that you've done has led you to where you are. And recognizing that and reevaluating it and drawing the experience into something useful, condensing it or alchemizing the experience into something new, which is the Sun, the Lovers being like that representation of the alchemization of the experience and the understanding of it, and creating something. I want to look at the bottom of the deck. We have the Ten of Swords, sorry. I was looking at the Queen of Wands as I said that, and I feel compelled to put it right there. It's like, I feel like this... I wanted to say it was going to be a potential outcome, but I don't think that's right. I'm looking at the Queen of Wands, and she's like looking at it like, this is where I could have been. But it's like, I didn't end up there because I've done this inner work. I've done this inner and outer work to make sure that I didn't speak before I thought. To make sure that I didn't immediately come to a decision or a judgment about somebody or a situation without considering all the factors at play. And because I took the slow and careful and methodical approach, I have ended up on this throne where I am able to direct my life in the way that I see fit. Where I am able to dispense upon my kingdom as I see appropriate, rather than being here where I'm powerless and defeated because X, Y, or Z. like she's looking, it's kind of set up like this on my table. She's looking over at this 10 of Swords, not necessarily with contempt. I'm seeing more pride, but like a positive pride. She's like, I'm not there, I'm here, and I'm seated on this throne, and all is well, because I did this. I made this happen. I pulled myself up and made this happen with the help of partnership, or with the help of alchemizing my experiences into something that's positive and useful, rather than wallowing, or rather than imparting judgment upon it that diminishes it, or that villainizes it, victimizes myself. Like, you're not a victim. You're not going to play the victim. You're going to use your experiences to inform your confidence. You've been through all that, so why not make something of yourself, kind of energy. But making sure that you're taking the time to reflect, making sure that you're taking the time to see outside perspectives and how things, how their approach to things might reinforce what you're trying to create, or what you're working towards. Because I feel like it will provide something in doing so. Yeah, and with that, I think that's all that the cards are saying to me right now. I hope that this message made sense to you, that you're able to glean something, even if it's abstract and you have to kind of warp it around a little bit to make it usable for you. But I hope it does provide some clarity on something, or helps to reinforce maybe what you already knew. Because I feel like that's what the tarot is best at, is really reflecting back the truth that we already know, but aren't necessarily accepting. You need to be receptive to the truth. You need to be receptive in order to glean the truth, if that makes sense. But yeah, wishing y'all the best, Gemini. Let me know what's going on with y'all, if this resonated, and any crossovers or synchronicities that you experienced, because I like reading about it. But yeah, wish you the best, Gemini. Looks like you're doing some good work here. You're on the right path. You just got to stick with it. Take care.